Welcome to another episode of Redesigning Your Relationships podcast. I'm your host, Geovanna Burgess White, with my co-host,
Yvette Valdenegro, and welcome.
We're so excited that you're here. If this is the first time you're either listening to us or watching us, thank you. Make sure you follow us on all platforms. We're on YouTube if you'd like to watch us. We're on Instagram if you want to watch the replay. And then we're on all platforms, podcast platforms, including Apple, Spotify, and Google Play. Today, we have an amazing episode for you. We're really, really excited. For those of you guys who follow us, we were out for the week. We were on vacation, and we're back with a topic that is kind of hot right now since J-Lo is getting
married.
Engagement number.
Supposedly getting married. How about that one?
We thought we would bring up a super hot topic on behavioral patterns in our relationships. What's the common denominator? So we're going to dive deep today and just kind of talk about those things, again, that no one really teaches us, talks about, and we tend to just kind of go backwards sometimes in our relationships, or just tend to be in the same type of relationship over and over and over again.
Yeah. So first, I just want to say, please send in any comments. I think we're going to be all over the map with this topic. Gio and I also, just for future thought processes, have some really great things coming up. But this one was just in our face. And I think just in society, it was in our face. And that is that, let's just get into it. J-Lo got engaged. Congratulations to her for the 6th time. Now, I would love for our conversations to kind of be on both sides of this whole thing, because again, there's never no right or wrong. There's never this isn't a J-Lo bashing session at all. It's just to bring up 6 engagements. Now, of course, I know the viewers and listeners are out there saying right now, but technically it's 5 because she's been engaged to the same person twice now. Okay, fine. So love came full circle for the 2nd time. Get it, got it. Okay. But 6 times. I think it's 4 marriages and 6 engagements, like something like that. And she was just engaged technically like last year. So the thought process is, let's just dive in. What are the thoughts about that? I mean, before we go into the common denominator, let's just go into like what is the thought processes in general, someone just being engaged for 6 times?
Well, I mean, I definitely, number one thing I would say is commitment problems. Maybe I would say maybe, the idea of wanting to get married is there, but then they don't quite cross the line. And again, we don't know J-Lo. We have clients, friends, market research, a lot of people who have either gotten married, remarried, been engaged multiple times, or have been in very serious relationships over the years with the same type of patterns that are in the relation. Nothing's changing. Let's just put it that way. Let's start with that. Nothing has changed. It's almost like, oh, another year has passed by, another relationship has passed by, another engagement, a couple of years, another engagement. So what's happening? And this is not just for women. I mean, we do coach women in their marriages, and we coach women in recovery during and after divorce, but this is also behavioral patterns in general. So I would just say commitment, fear of commitment, or maybe not getting married because it's not exactly what you thought it was. And so this should be interesting. What are your thoughts? What pops up in your head?
The same things you just said. I mean, I would only imagine that being someone in the spotlight like she is, that's very stressful. Eyes on her 24/7. And I couldn't even imagine the pressure she feels to be someone, or all the shoulds, right? Like, you should do this, you should do that. So one, in some regard, I'm like, kudos to her for not being in something that she doesn't want to do, or not being engaged if she doesn't want to. But then the other side of that is, okay, maybe there are some patterns, maybe there are some things that are going on with her. And like you said, commitment. I do know she's got her 2 children. So I'm sure that plays a factor into creating a family environment. And again, this isn't about necessarily her. All these situations and the things she's going through, everyone else is going through. So if someone finds themselves, like you just said, and it could be we can start looking at it in the dating process. Who am I when I show up to date someone, to meet someone new? How am I when I show up to meet in a business meeting? I bring myself to that environment, right? And then from there, I am who I am. And then I'm engaging as a person in communication with all the people that are around me, even more so in a relationship. And in a relationship, it's even more intimate because you get to know that person in a deep, or you would hope in a deeper level. So what you said in the very beginning, regardless of what it is and how someone feels about the experiences that they're having, the common denominator. So you have, let's just use Jennifer, and it's Ben twice, and Alex Rodriguez and Mark Anthony, and I forget the other two gentlemen that they were, but the common denominator in every single one of those relationships is Jennifer. So whatever is happening or not happening, it starts with her. Now, again, she's free to make whatever choice she wants to,
Yeah.
but it becomes, I feel like, for the rest of us to take a look and go, not the norm, whatever the norm is, to be engaged 6 different times. And if you look at that in just a 10-year period, that's about, let's just average it out. Every 2 years, she's in a relationship and engaged. And I'm laughing because I'm sure that there's someone out there that's listening. Because if you've seen her fat rings that she gets every time, it's like, well, hi, she's getting a collection, and she's getting to experience amazing partners at the same time. And she's living a dynamic life. So who's to say that that's, I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm just saying if someone were to say, God, that's just a lot, or I'm not happy, or this is not the success that I wanted, or these are not the goals that I was aspiring to have, or this is not how I really wanted to be doing relationship and love and marriage, then that's when you go, okay, well, what's the common denominator? It starts with her.
Yeah.
And whatever she wants.
And I think in any relationship, I mean, we talk about this all the time, but we show up, I feel like, when we're dating at the very beginning as a different version of her, of a version that's still not sure who that person is. And as we evolve and develop a relationship with our partner, seasons change, we grow, and we go back to, and then we talked about this when we were in the wedding industry and with engaged couples on like what should be happening. Like, oh, okay, well, we met, we dated. Now it's time for you to meet our parents. Now it's time for us to, move in together. Maybe now it's time for us to travel together. Then there was COVID. And so there's all these seasons in life. There's all these, what people think your relationship should be. And then there's changes in growth, but most people don't like that. From when you met your spouse or your partner a year ago, 6 months ago, or 10 years ago, they're not the same person, and they shouldn't be. And I think the expectations go back to, well, this is the person that I met. This is the person that I married. This is the person who you were at the beginning. And there was never a foundation set. There was never a short-term, long-term planning. There was never the hard conversations of the reality of life. And when you're watching someone like JLo, who is, she's entertainment. I mean, we know her life. Well, we know what we know of her life, but it's kind of the same way. We're kind of the person we are with our partner. We're the person we are with our friends with our partner. We're the person we are with our families with our partner, because we're trying to be a version of her for everybody else instead of being the version for her for you. Because I don't think till this day we've had any clients or any friends of ours that are like, oh, well, we're number one. We put ourselves first. And after that comes, whatever order it is, our spouse, our children, our spouse. Maybe it's the same. Maybe it's a family union. Maybe it's God. Maybe it's the universe. We've not met women that, very far and few, that can have that conversation with us, because we're not taught that. No one is teaching us that. And it seems like, oh, well, that's selfish. Who are you to put yourself first? Well, yeah, that's the way the world works. If we do not put ourselves first, we don't put our oxygen mask on first. Julie says that all the time. How are we going to help others? And that's the number one common denominator in every relationship. It starts with us. And the same thing with him. He has to be the best version of himself to enter any type of relationship. This isn't just, a love relationship. This is also a business relationship, a partnership, a relationship with your children, a relationship with your friends and with your families. You have to kind of establish those boundaries, those goals, and that person that you are in order to live a happy and fulfilled life, because all you're going to be doing is kind of putting on a different role for different people in your life. And at the end of the day, you die being a version that wasn't even you.
Yeah. You set expectations. I think that's such a big word in relationships, beginning to end. I mean, the expectations in dating, you know, I mean, and I really think that it starts there. Like, what you expect from the person, what you expect from yourself, what do you expect in a date, romance. I mean, our culture, if you really think about it, especially in these last years, our culture is really wrapped up in this romance world of what we see in the movies, TV, what we read in books. And romance, I think, has gotten stronger as the years have gone by. But I'm not really sure when people began, how much romance was there? Like, hey, I killed a goat, I brought it home. You know, that's not, there was different expectations. So yes, the point is that things change and expectations change. But think about your expectations when you met your partner, when you were dating, then your expectations of them the first couple of years of marriage, the expectations 10 years in, and as you keep going. If you're not talking about those expectations because they're going to change, that's where the conflict comes in. And I just thought of something when I was, do you, and this is like, I don't know, again, not right or wrong. I should say this. I don't know why, but I also think that we have this concept that for some reason, the minute, like, love is what happens before I do, like the romance, the courting, the date nights, we're getting married, and the amazing part of like, oh, we're gonna like this amazing wedding this day. Then you get married. So what happens to love after I do, which goes into those expectations? What are your expectations going into a committed marital relationship? And a lot of times that's where the uneasiness comes in.
No one's talking about it. No one's talking. We have all the statistics. Most couples that get married, only 18% are getting married in the church. So what happens to that other 82%? They're not really getting premarital counseling. We coach around the top 3 reasons for divorce, which is communication, financial stability, and sex and intimacy, which all revolves back to communication. So no couples are sitting there going, we need to, whatever you want to call it, goals, expectations, foundation. Those are all the three similar words that we use with our coaching, but it's, what is it going to look like during the courting season, right? That's the courting, the getting to know each other, and love should play a part in all of this. And what does it look like in the engagement season? Most couples go straight from engagement to getting married, and there should be a season in between there. We talk about that all the time. And that's the season that you really start talking about those short-term expectations, or the 1 to 3 year plan. And the 1 to 3 year plan is not just money. It's not money and houses and family. It's also the expectation and the growth on the relationship. Who's kind of like, what's happening in the household? What are the rules? What are the responsibilities? It's also the conversations around the non-negotiables, which most people wait till they're married to have those conversations. That needs to happen really in the courting stages, because once you're engaged, and we have tons of previous episodes on this, it's like having children, not being able to have children, moving, losing jobs, changing your career, all of these, prenups, like what's happening with the finances right now, what's going to happen with them when we're married, are we having joint accounts, are we not, like all of those things that you're like, ooh, I'm sure people are listening right now or watching us and going, oh, that's horrible, like I never talked about that. Well, I promise you something, if you didn't talk about it then, and you didn't talk about it while you were courting, while you were during your engaging, you're talking about it in your first 3 years of marriage, 52% of people are getting married right now. That's the statistic. So it doesn't get easier. It doesn't get easier because a ring goes on it. It doesn't get easier because you got married. It actually gets harder. And then you start to experience a lot of, well, I just expected that you knew that. Or, we didn't really talk about it, but that's the person that I am. Or, well, no, I don't want to have children, but you do. Like, what? And that's the thing. That's what's happening in the world. And that's why the divorce rate is so high. And it's like, why aren't we talking about that? Why aren't we're willing to spend the time? We're going to be together forever. That's the goal, right? Spending the time on having these difficult conversations now so that they become easier later on down the road, because it's the same conversations you're going to have on your yearly talk, your, every 5-year plan, or however it is that you set goals in your relationship. Same thing with business, same thing when you have a family. Those are the same conversations that'll have to come up. And if you can't talk about money, you can't talk about non-negotiables, the fun part of sex and intimacy isn't going to be easy, because you're going to be stressing out about those two other things, which revolves, like, that's what our life revolves around, is money. And money makes the experiences, the growth, the buying the other house, the having the children, it is what it is. This is a real and raw podcast. We've always been that way. So what's the problem? What's the common denominator there? Society doesn't teach us. There's no place to go and say, hey, you know what? Let's work on us first before we make this major commitment into having a family and getting married. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But that's what we're here to do. We're trying to prevent divorce. We're trying to prevent people being in a relationship that's like the same relationship over and over and over again. If you're not willing to change the person that you are and be the person that you should be, then you shouldn't be in a relationship. That's the easiest thing. It's like, if you can't, and we see that all the time, people who go from one relationship to the other, and there's no time in between. That's your time to rebuild, to regroup, to rediscover, to redesign yourself. Because all you're doing is hurting yourself even more and the next person that you're in a relationship with.
Yeah. So 50% of those people that are getting divorced, if they get married again, the statistic even goes higher, that it's 75% that they will be in another divorce, because again, they're the common denominator. So we have this idea that, oh, I got rid of the person that made me unhappy. They were this and they were that, and they did this to me, and he said and he did, or whatever. But you get another relationship 2 years in, you go, oh, he's doing okay. It's the same thing, whether it's the pattern that you're attracting someone that is not good for you. It's the pattern of maybe you're not being your best self in whatever it is, however you want to say it, it's still repeating itself, and it's not a healthy one. So everything you just said, was based on, well, everything we've been saying is based on like the pre. Now, the people that are out there listening that have been married for years and years and years, there's disappointment after decades of being in a relationship, and it becomes, what the heck, with HELL, hockey sticks, do I do now that I am in a committed relationship and I am severely disappointed? I'm struggling. My expectations are that this would be better. And what the heck do I do now? Like that is such a stuck feeling of, where do I go? Yeah. And this is why we talk about this, because there is somewhere to go, but it's the go starting from within. And I think attitude is everything. Change your attitude, start with yourself, everything from looking at a different perspective, everything that we teach. But I just know that there's people out there, when you were saying all those things, I'm like, oh, I know there's people listening right now going, oh, that's great for the person who's about to get married, who's thinking all these things, great, start over, start afresh, check your expectations. But what about my expectations now?
Yeah.
That I have in my relationship right now, that I am in a committed relationship, and what do I do?
Yeah, which is the women we work with, the women in marriages. Like, we don't want people to get divorced, and you don't have to. And again, it's the craziest thing. Attitude, it's the mindset. It's the person that you are inside, but you've never really let out. And women are like, oh no, I can't be her. My husband will divorce me. Oh, that's not the person he married. We promise you, that's not how it works. And all of those stories you're making up in your head, your spouse, your husband, your partner, whatever committed relationship that you're in, when you are willing to hold yourself accountable and to put in the work and to become the better version of yourself, no person is going to be like, oh, I'm walking away. The changes will happen to that person, not because you're telling them to, because you're making the changes. You're being her. You're being the person that you truly should be. And your partner, your lifelong partner, is going to be there along the side to hold your hand, to cheer you on, and to say, oh my God, I did not know this is what you needed. I did not know this is who you are. And because of that, they're going to do their own change, because that's what a partnership is. That's what love is. And I think we forget that. And I know most women don't do that. They've never put the best version of themselves forward, because we're not taught that. We're nurturers, we're givers, and it doesn't feel natural. But we're here to tell you that is the secret to every relationship, not just the relationship with your partner, to the relationship with yourself, to the relationship with your children, with your business, with your family, with your friends. When you establish who that version of her is and you stick to being her every single day, it's game changing. It's life changing. And we're here to tell you that. Our community of women and Ignite can tell you that. Our clients can tell you that. They are living the best. They're living a life by design, the best life that they can. And that's what we're here to do. So we have these podcasts every single week. We are here for you. We love your DMs and we love to hear your topics and suggestions. We're also here to do a connection consultation. So if you heard something, you saw something, you're like, oh my God, that's so me, or oh my God, I don't even know where to start, just book a connection consult with us. We want to see where you're at in your relationship, and we want to help you really just redesign the relationship you deserve and that you desire. So before we leave, anything else you want to add in?
No, just do not live in fear, because you can absolutely live in freedom. And I could just, when we were talking, I just feel someone inside saying, you don't understand, you don't understand. And that gripping, we've both been there. It's that gripping feeling of, it's fearful because what you said, it's unknown. To be someone that you've never been, even though that's your heart's desire inside, of course, let's just be real. There is a part that goes, what if? But here's the awesome thing. If things aren't great now and you're not really happy, what if you being her is like it, and it's like jumping off a cliff, but you're like, oh my God, I jumped off the cliff and landed in these amazing rain clouds. Like, go for it. Just, you have nothing to lose. Fear, don't let fear grip you, because there is freedom when you just let go and become yourself. So for anybody out there that was feeling that way when we're talking, don't live in that fear. And we are so open for a connection call and meeting with you, talking with you, and just helping in any way we can.
All right. We'll see you next week. Bye.